great things that we're doing in transportation industry today. Environmentally, we're doing a lot of things to protect the environment.
We use the transportation network to get to school, to home, to work, to go to the hospital. And I think people take for granted that transportation is so important and how it affects their lives.
Since the beginning of our country's history, Americans have prized mobility. Our pioneers headed west in search of land and gold. Immigrants crossed the oceans in pursuit of the American dream. Our inventors broke new ground with discoveries in automotive, rail, and air travel. We sent the first person to the moon. Today, that legacy lives on in a transportation system that is the envy of the world. Trains crisscross the nation carrying passengers and cargo. Cars travel on highways, city streets, and country roads. Motor carriers haul raw materials and manufactured goods. Transit opens up transportation to everyone with rail systems and bus lines. Air travel makes distant locations a short plane ride away. Strong infrastructure helps all the modes work together. New technologies hold promise for the future. The volume of travel on our transportation system is at record levels and rising. But navigating our roads, rails, and skies is safer and more efficient than ever. Dedicated professionals in the field can point with pride to this success story. But our positive message does not always reach government, the media, and the public. Too often, transportation systems get attention only when the news is bad, and our many accomplishments go unnoticed.
We have a wonderful opportunity, I think, to advance transportation in this country. Come on, we have a lot of space in this country. We have a fairly affluent society that can afford automobiles, can afford to travel. We love the freedom to go where we want. That's very marketable in this country.
Americans sort of think of transportation as they do nutrition. And I think what we have to do a better job is explaining the links between their personal quality of life, their personal productivity, and job retention, job growth. And that there's very, very strong links between transportation investment and all those factors.
It is up to those of us in the field to correct this problem and work together to tell the real story of transportation in America. In this program, we will hear from leading professionals in the field who will share their insights and provide hands-on tips for getting transportation's positive message out. Successful public relations campaigns are built around fundamental principles. Public relations is a constant process. Listen and respond to your audiences. Think like a reporter. Use credible spokespersons. Make sure your materials fit your strategy. Public service means public service. Find new venues to tell your story. There is always potential for both positive and negative stories to impact your organization. An ongoing public relations strategy is critical in this ever-changing environment, and it must be part of every aspect of your operation.
As professionals, we think that all you have to do is build the road and that's it. And it's a lot more than that. You have to work with the media, you have to work with the local public officials, you have to get the public educated about how you want them to use this new road, what the benefits of the new road would be, what the benefits of the new transit line would be. And you have to line up all those pieces. You just can't expect to build the new road or put a new bus route out and expect that people will know how to use it or that they'll ride that new bus. It's a lot of education.
If we communicate effectively to the public and tell them what to expect, they do have a certain amount of patience. We've had some really large projects in the last year or two where we've had traffic volumes of 250,000 every day, and we were closing down 40% of that capacity. And what we found is we went out 2 years early and we basically started laying the foundation with people what we were going to do, what to expect, where the ramp closures were, how we were going to communicate with them. And we developed some pretty effective mechanisms so every day they could get specific information as to what was going on in that project. People do not understand construction projects, and part of our goal was to educate them in terms of what they could see each week.
I think one of the most important things that you can do and that I would suggest is to do a communications plan. We did that at the beginning of this year and it has helped us tremendously. If you're going to a place that you've never been before, you get out your roadmap and you map where you want to go. Public relations professionals should have a communications plan. They shouldn't start the year off without a communications plan.
If you work on educating and informing the public, they're more content. They have an understanding. And our goal every day ought to be to listen, tune into what our customers are saying, and try to really address those concerns.
Getting feedback from the citizens you serve is an important part of keeping your system running smoothly. The North Carolina Department of Transportation used a survey on its website for ideas to improve traffic flow on a heavily traveled artery. That's a great example of how public relations can play a role in public involvement. Here's how some other groups get feedback from key audiences.
I've always found that people are amazing in that a number of them, a vast majority of them, feel like talking to you if you give them a chance. And we offer a number of opportunities, whether it be the hearings I just mentioned in the summertime, our public hearings, whether they communicate to us through our legislators, or whether they pick up the phone and call us directly.
Listening needs to be practiced. It's a practice, it's an art, and I like to use those three letters, A-R-T, to explain what I mean. And A means active, being very listening and asking questions. R meaning restating the problems and listening to exactly people's concerns. And then T, and that's taking notes and being very attentive. And of course, incorporating people's ideas into solutions.
Every year we do focus groups. We do telephone survey research, and so we try to gather information so that we know what we're dealing with our customers. And then we can customize the pieces and the materials that go back out to them. So I think that getting good information about your customer base is the first thing.
There's a real role to play listening to the real concerns of our community and then being there and taking that back to our practice and doing, implementing what we've heard. And you can't underemphasize that.
Understanding what reporters want and what they don't want is the key to successful media relations. Some groups invite reporters to sit on panels at their events. Others emphasize building relationships with reporters.
It's important to establish relationships with reporters, get to know them, what they like, what they dislike. You have to have credibility with reporters. That is earned, it's not given.
You have to know the local media, get to know them before a crisis comes up. You know, talk to them and introduce them to your issues. If you're in highway safety, what your issues are, and you know, if you're in construction, what you do and what your group does, so that when a crisis comes up, they know who you are already, and you're not just bombarding them with messages.
As PR professionals, we are on call 24 hours a day, and if we want to get our message out, we have to be at the beck and call of the media. We have to meet their deadlines. It's not a 9-to-5 job. I carry my pager with me all the time. After 6 o'clock, on the voicemail at the Department of Transportation, there's my home phone number and my pager. If you want to get your message out, the media has to be able to get in touch with you at all hours of the day or night.
Every chance you have, invite reporters to your functions to speak to you. Certainly be willing to brief them on what you want them to know. But reporters oftentimes are not reluctant to tell you what they think. You can get them on a panel. It doesn't have to be anything formal. It can be just an informal give and take, or you can have it as a larger formalized panel discussion or round table. But it's a very effective way to find out what you may be doing wrong or what you may be doing right that you should do more of.
When we talk to the media, that we say it succinctly and we say it in sound bites. They do not want a 20-minute oration from us. They don't want a 30-minute dialogue. Yes, we deal with very complex and complicated issues, but we have to tell our story in a very succinct and in a very bottom-line fashion, and we have to do it in sound bites.
You know, reporters are people just like anybody else, and they have bad days and they have good days. You know, and the pressures of life affect them just like they affect us. And we're all looking for ways to make our lives simpler. I found one key is that if you can make the reporter's life a little bit easier, they are appreciative of that because they do have deadlines and concerns too.
Informed, credible spokespersons strengthen your message and build support. Associations find that members are good messengers. Government agencies turn to top leadership to tell their story.
In order to get the message across, you need to have a credible and capable spokesperson. It can't be a scientist who can't communicate. It can't be a layperson who doesn't know the technical details. It has to be the whole package. It has to be someone who knows all the details and can deliver them in a way that the general public can understand.
It's important for engineers to keep their message in front of lawmakers, to let the lawmakers know that they are a reliable source of information regarding engineering, scientific, and technology issues, which are increasingly the nature of issues that are coming before legislators today. Legislators very rarely have a very technical background, and so we want our members to feel comfortable and let the lawmakers know at the same time that there's this reliable source of technical information available to them.
A key component of what we do in getting our message out is we enlist our members who are the real experts on how these projects are built and how these systems really work. They not only deliver testimony to Congress, they work as our primary conduits to the administration, dealing with the Department of Transportation. They serve as the grassroots network. They're the real voters that call the congressional offices and get the message across. These are real issues that matter.
We have something that's called PE Day on the Hill, and we encourage our members to come to Washington and spend a day on Capitol Hill. We put them through a pretty early morning briefing, a few how-to tips, and then we sort of turn them loose. And we usually have very good results from that. And again, it's just a way of reinforcing the message and reminding them that we're there as a resource, and not necessarily as a special interest group.
Now that we've gotten the support of all of these stakeholders, when we get ready to get our message out, they're going to be with us, and they're going to be all across the state spreading this message with us.
It could be a mayor, it could be someone off the streets who has a good story to tell, which we often see in news stories about an average family who is enjoying some benefit of transportation. Those are the good news stories. There are ways to get those good news stories on if you can find the third party. So it's important to search for that third party.
To make the most of our budgets, print and audiovisual material should be developed with a specific strategy in mind. Planning and research are critical before investing in videos, brochures, websites, and other tools.
Before we develop any types of community outreach strategies or marketing strategies, the first thing that we do is develop our message, make sure we understand our message, and then figure out who that target audience is. And then we'll develop a medium that's very specific to reach that audience.
Lots of times we have customers that come to us and they say, I want to do a glitzy brochure and get this out. Well, once you sit the customer down and you begin to talk about, well, who's your audience? Well, I'm not sure who my audience is. Then you begin to say, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Then you'll find that maybe a brochure isn't what they want at all. It might be, the message may be sold better through a video or a combination of brochure and video exhibit. A whole different type of media campaign.
All of us have a budget, and most of us have a limited amount of money that we can spend for these projects anyway. So you have to have a plan. You have to know how you are going to get this message out, how it can be used, because if you don't do that, you've wasted an incredible amount of money.
A lot of the materials that are put together by associations and coalitions are sort of like your musical one-hit wonders. They make one point. After that point's made, they're never used again. They never come up again. It's an idea that had lost its traction and was discarded because it wasn't well thought out to begin with.
There's a lot of research that needs to be done, a lot of message development that needs to be done before you do any print publication or audiovisual or radio PSA. You have to know who you're trying to reach and what kind of message will reach them.
Successful public service campaigns are truly public service, not self-service. One great example is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's Vince and Larry campaign. which made wearing seatbelts a national priority. An effective public service campaign offers a clear call to action on a safety, health, or consumer issue.
Public service directors are faced with hundreds of public service campaigns, and you have to find something that's going to make your message stand out. So with Vince and Larry, we tried a brand new technique and something that we were very nervous about in the beginning, and that was applying humor to a safety situation. Everybody said, oh, you can't do it, it's going to offend the safety community. What we did was bring the safety community together, showed them the ideas, showed them the storyboard, introduced them, if you will, to Vince and Larry, and the result was a very successful public service campaign.
Public service campaigns are most effective if they have a compelling message to tell, and that the message is told repetitively over and over again. The most successful campaigns in the nations, like the seatbelt campaign, like our work zone campaigns, are effective because we're combining it with enforcement, education, which has to be repeated, like I said, many times, and then engineering, coming up with the safest system that we can.
Public service announcements have to be done in the way that the public knows that it really affects them. It cannot be done in a self-serving or political way because the public is going to see right through that.
You just can't put out a PSA to promote yourself. And even though transportation is very important, you can't talk about the universe of transportation. I think you have to talk to folks about a specific problem and how they're going to tackle that problem as motorists.
It would really help, it seems to me, for people to get to know public service directors a little bit, understand their thinking, and get a little bit more insight into what they're looking for. Because first of all, you have to get the commercial on the air, and so first of all, you have to please the public service director. Otherwise, it's not worth doing.
Sometimes creativity helps get your message out. The City of Baltimore's Department of Public Works got great exposure when its snowplows were featured at no cost in a downtown promotional spot. There is a host of other ways to get your message out by thinking outside of the box.
We have to find new and innovative ways to get our message out other than just doing news releases.
Today's audience, especially young people, are bombarded with so much information that we have to do something creative to cut through the clutter.
It is more important than ever for us to include strong public education and outreach in every aspect of our operations. There are no easy steps to reaching this goal. It takes a commitment by your entire organization. Mobility is an American success story, and by following the principles we've covered, you can help your group and the entire transportation field to get our message out.